The galaxy was vast, filled with countless species and civilizations that had risen and fallen over millennia. Among them, the planet Krylos stood out, not for its beauty or wealth but for an ancient legend whispered across star systems. Deep within the heart of Krylos lay a blade known as Vera's Fang, said to be forged by gods long forgotten. It was no ordinary weapon. It pulsed with energy so powerful that only those deemed worthy could even touch it without being consumed. For centuries, every species in the galaxy had tried to claim Vera's Fang. Warriors, scholars, mystics, all had failed. Some were incinerated on contact, others driven mad by visions they couldn't comprehend. Eventually, most gave up, labeling the blade cursed or useless. But not everyone forgot about it. Rumors spread among smugglers, bounty hunters, and treasure seekers, fueling secret expeditions to Krylos. On a distant moon orbiting a dying red star, a young scavenger named Leo sat cross-legged inside his battered ship, staring at a holographic map projected before him. His dark hair stuck out in messy tufts, and grease stains marked his face from hours spent repairing engines. The map showed Krylos glowing faintly, surrounded by warnings written in dozens of alien languages. Leo wasn't like other scavengers. While most stuck to picking through junkyards or raiding derelict ships, he craved something more. He dreamed of finding something legendary, something that would make people remember his name. And now, thanks to a cryptic message intercepted from a rogue trader, he believed he'd found his chance. Vera's Fang, Leo muttered under his breath, tracing the glowing dot on the map with one finger. If half the stories are true. His companion, a small, round drone named Pip, floated nearby, emitting soft beeps and whirs. Pip didn't have much personality, but it was good company when loneliness crept in during long voyages. "You think I'm crazy, don't you?" Leo asked, glancing at the drone. Pip responded with a series of chirps that sounded suspiciously skeptical. Leo grinned. "Come on, Pip. What's life without a little risk? Besides, if anyone can pull this off, it's me." Pip beeped again, this time sounding almost exasperated. Leo laughed, slapping the side of his ship affectionately. All right. Let's see what we're dealing with." He tapped a few controls, zooming in on Krylos. The planet looked barren, its surface scarred by endless storms and jagged mountains. According to the data, the blade was hidden deep underground in a labyrinth guarded by traps and strange anomalies. Most wouldn't dare venture there, but Leo felt a spark of excitement rather than fear. That night, as his ship drifted silently through space, Leo couldn't sleep. Images of the blade danced in his mind, its gleaming edge, the way it supposedly hummed with power. What would it feel like to hold such a weapon? To wield something greater than himself? By morning, Leo had made up his mind. No matter the danger, he would find Vera's Fang. After all, how hard could it be? As Leo approached Krylos days later, reality began to sink in. The planet loomed ahead, its skies swirling with violent storms. Lightning crackled across the horizon, illuminating jagged peaks that seemed to pierce the heavens themselves. Even Pip seemed hesitant, emitting low, nervous whirs as the ship descended. "This is it," Leo said, gripping the controls tightly. "No turning back now." He landed near the base of a mountain, where ancient ruins hinted at the presence of a hidden entrance. Stepping outside, Leo felt the weight of the atmosphere pressing down on him. The air was thick with static electricity, making his skin prickle. Every step echoed eerily against the rocky terrain. Pip hovered close, scanning the area. "Anything?" Leo asked, though he knew the drone couldn't answer beyond its usual beeps. Still, it provided some comfort as he ventured deeper into the ruins. After hours of searching, Leo finally found what he was looking for, a massive stone door etched with runes glowing faintly blue. At its center was a depression shaped like a handprint. Without hesitation, Leo placed his palm against it. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the ground trembled, and the door slid open with a deafening groan. A rush of cold air spilled out, carrying with it the scent of earth and something metallic. Leo swallowed hard, stepping inside. The labyrinth stretched endlessly before him, lit by dim, flickering lights embedded in the walls. Strange symbols lined the corridors, shifting and shimmering as if alive. Somewhere in the distance, he heard a low hum, the unmistakable sound of Vera's Fawn calling to him. But the journey wouldn't be easy. As Leo pressed forward, he quickly realized the legends weren't exaggerating. Traps sprang at every turn, forcing him to rely on quick reflexes and sheer luck. Walls shifted unpredictably, threatening to crush him. Shadows moved where none should exist, whispering words he couldn't understand. Yet despite the danger, Leo pressed on. Each challenge only fueled his determination. He wasn't just searching for a weapon, he was proving something to himself. To the galaxy? That even someone like him, a nobody from a forgotten corner of space, could achieve greatness. And somewhere deep within the labyrinth, Vera's Fawn waited, ready to reveal its secrets to whoever dared claim it. The deeper Leo ventured into the labyrinth, the more oppressive the atmosphere became. The air grew heavier, thick with an almost tangible energy that made his skin crawl. Pip's sensors flickered erratically, its usual calm beeping replaced by frantic chirps as it struggled to process the strange environment. Shadows danced along the walls, shifting unnaturally, and whispers echoed faintly in languages Leo couldn't comprehend. It was as if the labyrinth itself were alive, watching him, testing him. Despite the growing unease, Leo pressed forward. He had come too far to turn back now. Every step brought him closer to Vera's Fawn, and every challenge only strengthened his resolve. The first major obstacle came sooner than expected. A narrow bridge stretched across a chasm so deep that even the light from his wrist-mounted torch couldn't penetrate its darkness. The bridge looked fragile, its surface cracked and crumbling. At either end stood towering statues of alien warriors, their eyes glowing ominously. As Leo stepped onto the bridge, the ground trembled, and the statues' heads turned slowly to face him. "Great!" Leo muttered under his breath. "Of course there are moving statues." Pip beeped nervously beside him, hovering slightly behind as if reluctant to follow. Ignoring the drone's protests, Leo took a cautious step forward. The bridge groaned beneath his weight but held firm. Encouraged, he moved quicker, until the statues suddenly sprang to life. With a deafening roar, the stone giants raised their massive weapons and began advancing toward him. Leo froze for a split second before bolting across the bridge. Each step sent chunks of rock tumbling into the abyss below, forcing him to focus entirely on maintaining his balance. Behind him, the statues lumbered forward, their heavy footsteps shaking the already unstable structure. "Come on, Pip!" Leo shouted over his shoulder. The drone zipped past him, narrowly avoiding being crushed by falling debris. Just as Leo reached the other side, the bridge collapsed completely, sending the statues plummeting into the chasm with a thunderous crash. Breathing heavily, Leo leaned against the wall, clutching his chest. "That was way too close." Pip let out a series of indignant chirps, clearly unimpressed by Leo's reckless behavior. Leo just grinned. "Relax, buddy. We're still alive, aren't we?" The next trial proved even more daunting. After navigating a series of twisting corridors, Leo found himself in a vast chamber illuminated by eerie blue light emanating from crystals embedded in the ceiling. In the center of the room stood a pedestal, atop which rested a single glowing orb. Surrounding the pedestal were dozens of floating shards of crystal, each spinning rapidly in place. As Leo approached, the shards abruptly shot toward him, forming a swirling barrier between him and the orb. Instinctively, he raised his arms to shield himself, but the shards halted just inches away, hovering menacingly. "What do you want from me?" Leo asked aloud, frustration creeping into his voice. The shards didn't respond, merely continuing their erratic dance. Pip floated nearby, scanning the scene with its sensors. "It's like some kind of puzzle," Leo mused, studying the pattern of the shards. They seemed to move in sync, creating intricate shapes before breaking apart and reforming. Realization dawned on him. "That's it. I have to mimic the pattern." Drawing a deep breath, Leo extended his hands, mimicking the motions of the shards. Slowly, deliberately, he traced the shapes they formed in the air. At first, nothing happened. But as he repeated the sequence again and again, the shards began to slow their movements, gradually aligning themselves with his gestures. Finally, with one last motion, the shards dissolved into harmless dust, revealing the glowing orb. Leo reached out and grasped it, feeling a surge of warmth flow through his body. The orb pulsed once, then dimmed, leaving behind a faint hum in the air. "Well, that wasn't so bad," Leo said, pocketing the orb. Pip beeped skeptically, clearly unconvinced. The final challenge of the labyrinth awaited Leo in a cavernous hall dominated by a towering statue of a humanoid figure holding a massive sword, the unmistakable shape of Vera's Fong. The blade shimmered with an otherworldly light, casting long shadows across the room. Beneath the statue lay a pool of liquid metal, rippling gently despite no visible source of disturbance. Leo approached cautiously, his heart pounding in anticipation. This was it, the moment he'd been dreaming of. All he had to do was claim the blade, and everything would change. But as he reached for the hilt, a booming voice echoed through the chamber. "Who dares disturb the resting place of Vera's Fong?" Startled, Leo stumbled backward, nearly tripping over his own feet. The statue's eyes glowed fiercely, and its mouth opened to reveal rows of jagged teeth. Its hand tightened around the blade, as if preparing to strike. "I am Leo," he stammered, regaining his footing. "I came here to claim the blade." The statue tilted its head, studying him with an expression that seemed almost amused. "Many have sought Vera's Fong, yet none have succeeded. What makes you believe you are worthy?" Leo hesitated, unsure how to respond. He wasn't a warrior or a hero. He was just a scavenger with big dreams. But something inside him stirred, a quiet determination he hadn't felt before. "I may not be strong or powerful," Leo admitted, meeting the statue's gaze. "But I won't give up. No matter what stands in my way, I'll keep fighting. Isn't that worth something?" For a moment, the chamber fell silent. Then the statue lowered its arm, offering the blade to Leo. "Courage and perseverance are rare traits among your kind. Prove yourself, mortal, and the blade shall answer." Heart racing, Leo stepped forward and gripped the hilt of Vera's Fong. For a brief instant, pain seared through his body, and visions of destruction and chaos flooded his mind. But instead of letting go, he held on tightly, gritting his teeth until the sensation passed. When the world came back into focus, Leo found himself standing upright, the blade glowing softly in his hands. The statue nodded approvingly. "You have proven yourself worthy. Go forth, bearer of Vera's Fong, and wield its power wisely." Exhaling deeply, Leo turned to Pip, who emitted a series of excited chirps. "We did it," he said, a grin spreading across his face. "Let's get out of here." But as they made their way back through the labyrinth, Leo couldn't shake the feeling that claiming the blade was only the beginning. Somewhere beyond the planet's surface, forces far greater than he could imagine were stirring. Forces that would soon demand answers, and action, from the unlikely human who dared to wield Vera's Fong. Emerging from the labyrinth, Leo blinked against the harsh glare of Krylos's twin suns. The air outside was just as oppressive as before, but the weight of Vera's Fong in his hands made him feel invincible. Pip buzzed excitedly around him, its sensors lighting up with bursts of color that seemed celebratory. "Well, that wasn't so bad," Leo said, trying to sound casual despite the adrenaline still coursing through his veins. He glanced down at the blade, which pulsed faintly with a soft blue light. It didn't look like much, just an ancient sword, but he could feel its power humming beneath his fingers, almost alive. Pip let out a series of skeptical chirps, clearly unimpressed by Leo's attempt at nonchalance. "Hey, don't knock it," Leo replied, giving the drone a playful nudge. "We survived, didn't we? And now we've got this." He held the blade aloft, letting the sunlight catch its edge. For a moment, he imagined himself as some kind of galactic hero, standing triumphant over impossible odds. But reality quickly intruded on his fantasy. As they approached the ship, Leo noticed something strange, a faint shimmer in the air near the entrance ramp. At first, he thought it might be heat distortion, but then the shimmer coalesced into a humanoid figure clad in sleek black armor. The figure's helmet obscured their face entirely, leaving only cold, mechanical eyes glowing red. "Who are you?" Leo demanded, instinctively stepping back and raising Vera's fang defensively. Pip darted behind him, emitting nervous whirs. The figure tilted their heads slightly, surveying Leo with obvious disdain. "A human," they said, their voice distorted by what sounded like a synthesizer. "How quaint." Leo frowned. "Quaint? What's that supposed to mean?" The figure ignored his question, instead focusing on the blade in his hand. "So, the rumors are true. A human has claimed Vera's fang." They paused, tilting their head again. "You must be incredibly foolish, or incredibly lucky." "I prefer determined," Leo shot back, gripping the hilt tighter. "Now, unless you're planning to help me leave this rock, I suggest you step aside." The armored figure chuckled darkly. "Leave? Oh no, human. You misunderstand. My mission is not to stop you, it's to retrieve the blade." Before Leo could react, the figure lunged forward with shocking speed. Their movements were fluid and precise, unlike anything Leo had ever seen. Instinctively, he swung Vera's fang, expecting resistance, but the blade passed through empty air as the figure vanished. "What the?" Leo spun around, searching for any sign of them. Pip beeped urgently, pointing toward the sky. Looking up, Leo saw the figure hovering several feet above the ground, their boots crackling with energy. "Impressive reflexes," the figure admitted, landing gracefully nearby. "But will they be enough?" Without warning, they launched another attack, this time unleashing a barrage of energy blasts from their gauntlets. Leo dove to the side, narrowly avoiding being struck. The ground where he'd been standing erupted in flames, sending shards of rock flying everywhere. Okay, Leo shouted, scrambling to his feet. "Clearly, talking isn't going to work here." Summoning every ounce of courage, Leo charged forward, swinging Vera's fang in wide arcs. To his surprise, the blade responded to his intent, glowing brighter with each strike. When one of the energy blasts collided with the blade, it dissipated harmlessly, absorbed into the weapon's core. The figure hesitated, clearly taken aback. "Impossible," they muttered under their breath. Seizing the opportunity, Leo pressed his advantage, driving the figure back with relentless strikes. Though inexperienced, he fought with raw determination, fueled by the knowledge that failure meant losing everything. Finally, with one last powerful swing, he knocked the figure off balance, sending them sprawling to the ground. Breathing heavily, Leo pointed the tip of Vera's fang at their throat. "Stay down," he growled, his voice steadier than he felt. "I don't want to hurt you." The figure laughed bitterly, though there was a hint of respect in their tone. "You've already done more than anyone else who's faced me. Very well, human, you win this round." With that, they tapped a device on their wrist, and in a flash of light, they disappeared, leaving behind only scorched earth and unanswered questions. Back aboard his ship, Leo collapsed into the pilot's seat, exhaustion washing over him. Pip floated silently beside him, its usual chirps replaced by a low hum that almost sounded concerned. "I know, buddy," Leo said, rubbing his temples. "That was insane. But we're safe, for now." He glanced at Vera's fang, resting securely in its holster next to him. Despite the victory, he couldn't shake the feeling that claiming the blade had set something much bigger into motion. Whoever, or whatever, that figure was, they hadn't come alone. And if they wanted the blade back, others would surely follow. As the ship lifted off and soared into space, Leo stared out the viewport at the receding planet below. Somewhere out there, forces far greater than he understood were watching, and waiting. The hum of the ship's engines filled the cabin as Leo piloted away from Krylos, his mind racing faster than the stars streaking past the viewport. Vera's fang rested in its holster beside him, pulsing faintly with a soft blue light that seemed to match the rhythm of his heartbeat. He couldn't shake the feeling that the blade was alive. Not just an object, but something sentient, whispering secrets only he could hear. Pip hovered nearby, occasionally emitting low chirps that sounded almost contemplative. The drone had been unusually quiet since their encounter with the armored figure, and Leo wondered if even Pip sensed the weight of what they'd brought aboard. "So," Leo said aloud, breaking the silence, What do you think? Should we head back to my usual stomping grounds or… I don't know, try to find out more about this thing? He gestured toward the blade without looking away from the controls. Pip responded with a series of hesitant beeps, clearly unsure which option was less dangerous. Leo chuckled dryly. Yeah, me either. As much as he wanted to celebrate their victory, the armored figure's words haunted him. My mission is not to stop you, it's to retrieve the blade. Who were they working for? And why did they want Vera's Fang so badly? More importantly, why had the blade chosen him, a scavenger with no special skills or training? Before he could dwell on it further, a sudden jolt rocked the ship. Alarms blared, and red warning lights flashed across the cockpit. Leo grabbed the controls, trying to steady the vessel. What the? Pip zipped around frantically, scanning the systems. A holographic display flickered to life, showing multiple unidentified objects closing in fast. Great! Leo muttered, gripping the yoke tighter. Just what we needed! Outside the viewport, sleek black ships materialized from the void, surrounding them like predators circling prey. Each one bore the same emblem as the armored figure's gauntlet, a jagged symbol resembling a claw. Leo's stomach sank. They weren't alone. One of the ships transmitted a signal, and a voice crackled over the comm system. Surrender the blade, human. Resistance is futile. Leo clenched his jaw, his grip tightening on the controls. Not happening, he muttered under his breath. Turning to Pip, he said, Can we outrun them? Pip emitted a series of rapid beeps, followed by a long, mournful whir. Translation, not a chance. Perfect, Leo groaned. But then his eyes landed on Vera's Fang. Its glow had intensified, as if reacting to the ships outside. An idea sparked in his mind, an insane, reckless idea, but maybe, just maybe it could work. Reaching for the blade, Leo unsheathed it, holding it firmly in one hand while keeping the other on the controls. The moment his fingers closed around the hilt, a surge of energy coursed through him. It wasn't painful, exactly, but overwhelming, like every nerve in his body was firing at once. Images flooded his mind, battles fought across galaxies, civilizations rising and falling, and countless wielders standing where he stood now. And then clarity. The blade wasn't just a weapon, it was a key, a conduit for power beyond comprehension. Power that responded to intent. If he focused hard enough, maybe he could use it to fight back. Summoning all his concentration, Leo pointed the blade toward the viewport. At first, nothing happened. Then, a beam of brilliant blue light shot forth, slicing cleanly through one of the pursuing ships. The vessel exploded in a burst of flames, debris scattering into the void. What, did you see that, Pip? Leo exclaimed, his voice tinged with disbelief. Pip beeped wildly, spinning in excited circles. Encouraged, Leo repeated the motion, targeting another ship. This time, the beam split into multiple streams, striking several vessels simultaneously. One by one, the enemy ships fell, their crews abandoning ship or perishing in the blasts. But the remaining ships adapted quickly. Their weapons locked onto Leo's vessel, unleashing a barrage of missiles and energy blasts. Leo swerved violently, dodging most of the attacks, but a few struck true, shaking the ship violently. We're not gonna make it! Leo shouted, panic creeping into his voice. The ship's shields were failing, and smoke began filling the cockpit. Then, Vera's Fang pulsed again, brighter than ever. The blade seemed to pull at Leo's consciousness, urging him to trust it completely. Closing his eyes, Leo let go of the controls and focused solely on the blade. He envisioned a protective barrier surrounding the ship, deflecting the incoming fire. To his astonishment, it worked. A shimmering field of energy enveloped the vessel, absorbing the blasts harmlessly. Emboldened, Leo pushed harder, channeling the blade's power outward. The energy field expanded, engulfing the enemy ships and disabling their systems. Within moments, the attackers were neutralized, drifting helplessly in space. Leo slumped back in his seat, trembling with exhaustion. His hands felt numb, and sweat dripped down his face, but they were alive. Against all odds, they had survived. Once the immediate threat was gone, Leo allowed himself a moment to breathe. Pip floated closer, emitting a series of concerned chirps. "I'm fine," Leo assured the drone, though his voice betrayed how drained he truly was. "That was intense." He glanced at Vera's Fong, still glowing faintly in his lap. The blade had saved them, but it had also demanded a price. Using it had left him feeling hollow, as if part of his strength had been siphoned away. Was this what wielding such power entailed? Sacrificing pieces of yourself each time? Before he could reflect further, the ship's sensors detected another anomaly, a massive structure looming ahead, partially concealed by clouds of cosmic dust. It looked ancient, its surface covered in intricate carvings that glowed faintly with the same blue light as the blade. "What is that?" Leo murmured, leaning forward in his seat. Pip beeped uncertainly, its scanners unable to identify the structure. Something deep within Leo stirred, a pull, almost magnetic, drawing him toward the mysterious object. It was as if Vera's Fong recognized it, yearning to reunite with whatever lay inside. "Guess we're going in," Leo said, steering the ship toward the structure. Whatever awaited them there, he knew one thing for certain: their journey was far from over. As Leo guided the ship toward the massive structure, its true scale became apparent. It was a colossal construct, shaped like a towering spire that seemed to pierce through the fabric of space itself. Its surface shimmered with an iridescent glow, reflecting the light of nearby stars in mesmerizing patterns. The carvings etched into its exterior pulsed faintly with the same blue energy as Vera's Fong, creating an eerie yet beautiful effect. "This place feels important," Leo muttered, his voice barely above a whisper. Pip hovered silently beside him, its usual chirps replaced by a low hum of curiosity, or perhaps unease. Even the drone seemed affected by the strange aura emanating from the structure. The ship docked automatically at a platform jutting out from the spire's base. As Leo stepped onto the platform, he felt a tingling sensation run through his body, as if the air itself were charged with energy. He glanced down at Vera's Fong, which had grown even brighter since they arrived. Whatever this place was, it clearly recognized the blade, and maybe him, too. "All right, Pip," Leo said, gripping the hilt of the blade tightly. "Let's see what secrets this thing holds." The interior of the spire was unlike anything Leo had ever seen. The walls were made of some kind of translucent material, glowing softly and shifting colors like liquid rainbows. Strange symbols floated in midair, rotating slowly as if alive. Every step echoed faintly, amplified by the vastness of the chamber. At the center of the room stood a pedestal similar to the one in the labyrinth, but this one was far more elaborate. Intricate designs spiraled outward from the base, and atop it rested a crystalline orb identical to the one Leo had retrieved earlier. However, this orb radiated a much stronger energy, casting beams of light across the chamber. Before Leo could approach, the ground beneath his feet began to tremble. The glowing symbols in the air coalesced into a humanoid figure, a hologram-like projection of an alien being. Unlike the armored figure who had attacked them earlier, this entity exuded wisdom and authority. Its elongated limbs and flowing robes gave it an ethereal appearance, and its eyes glowed with a serene, golden light. "Bearer of Vera's Fong," the figure intoned, its voice resonating throughout the chamber. "You have come seeking answers." Leo froze, unsure how to respond. Finally, he managed to stammer. Yeah? I guess you could say that." The figure inclined its head slightly, studying him with an expression that seemed both curious and cautious. "Few have proven worthy of wielding the blade. Fewer still have dared to seek the truth behind its power. Tell me, mortal, what drives you?" Leo hesitated, taken aback by the question. What drove him? Was it ambition? A desire for recognition? Or something deeper? After a moment, he answered honestly. "I'm not sure. Maybe I just want to prove that someone like me can make a difference. That even a scavenger from nowhere can do something meaningful." The figure regarded him thoughtfully before speaking again. "Your courage is commendable, but the path you tread is fraught with peril. Vera's Fong is no ordinary weapon, it is a fragment of creation itself, forged by beings long forgotten. To wield it is to carry the weight of their legacy. Leo frowned, glancing down at the blade in his hands. Legacy? What does that mean? The figure gestured toward the crystalline orb on the pedestal. Within lies knowledge, the origins of the blade, the civilizations that once guarded it, and the forces now seeking to claim it. But beware, mortal! Knowledge comes at a cost. Are you prepared to bear it? Leo hesitated, uncertainty gnawing at him. He didn't know what awaited him within the orb, but he couldn't ignore the pull he felt toward it. If understanding Vera's Fong meant uncovering the truth about himself and the galaxy, then so be it. I'm ready, he said firmly, stepping forward. The figure nodded approvingly. Then proceed. May your resolve guide you. As Leo approached the pedestal, the crystalline orb began to glow brighter, its light enveloping him completely. For a moment, everything went white, and then images flooded his mind, visions of ancient worlds, mighty empires, and devastating wars. He saw the creators of Vera's Fong, towering, godlike beings known as the Etherians, who had shaped reality itself with their mastery over energy and matter. They forged the blade as a tool of balance, capable of both creation and destruction. But when conflict arose among them, the blade became a weapon of chaos, shattering entire star systems. Leo witnessed the rise and fall of countless civilizations that sought to control the blade, each one consumed by greed or madness. He saw the formation of a secret order tasked with protecting the blade, hiding it away on Krylos until a worthy successor emerged. Finally, the visions turned to the present. Shadows moved across galaxies, gathering strength. Armies marched under banners adorned with the claw emblem of the armored figure. Their leader, an enigmatic entity cloaked in darkness, spoke of reclaiming Vera's Fong to reshape the universe according to their will. When the visions ended, Leo staggered back, clutching his head. His mind reeled from the torrent of information, but one thing was clear: the blade had chosen him for a reason. Whether it was fate or coincidence, he was now part of something far greater than himself. Leo stood at the edge of the spire's platform, staring out into the vast expanse of space. The crystalline orb had shown him more than he ever wanted to know, more than he felt ready to handle. But one truth was undeniable: Vera's Fong wasn't just a weapon, it was a beacon. A signal that drew forces far beyond his understanding. And now, those forces were converging. Pip floated nearby, its usual chirps replaced by a low, almost mournful hum. Even the drones seemed aware of the gravity of their situation. Leo glanced down at the blade in his hand, its glow steady and unwavering. Guess we don't have much of a choice, do we? He muttered under his breath. The armored figure's words echoed in his mind. My mission is not to stop you, it's to retrieve the blade. They weren't alone. Whoever, or whatever, they served was coming for him. And judging by the visions from the orb, they wouldn't stop until Vera's Fong was theirs. But Leo wasn't about to give up without a fight. Back aboard the ship, Leo plotted a course away from the spire. He didn't know where to go next, but staying put would only make them an easier target. As the engines roared to life, he activated the comm system, hoping to reach anyone who might help. Allies were few and far between in his line of work, but desperate times called for desperate measures. This is Leo, he said into the mic, his voice firm despite the uncertainty gnawing at him. If anyone can hear me, I need your help. Something big is coming, something dangerous. If you've got a reason to care about this galaxy, meet me at these coordinates. He transmitted the message across multiple frequencies, knowing full well it could attract unwanted attention as much as allies. Still, he couldn't face this alone. Not with what he'd seen. As the ship hurtled through hyperspace, Leo reviewed the data from the orb. The shadowy armies gathering under the claw emblem were vast, their numbers growing daily. Their leader remained shrouded in mystery, but one thing was clear: they believed Vera's Fong held the key to ultimate power. Power to reshape reality itself. And then there was the Order, the Guardians of the Blade. According to the orb, they had been wiped out centuries ago during one of the many wars over the blade. Or so everyone thought. Leo couldn't shake the feeling that remnants of the Order still existed. If anyone could guide him, it was them. Hours later, the ship dropped out of hyperspace near a remote asteroid field, a rendezvous point chosen for its obscurity. Leo scanned the area, searching for any sign of response to his message. At first, there was nothing but silence. Then, slowly, ships began emerging from the shadows. A sleek fighter craft drifted into view, followed by a battered transport vessel and a small fleet of scavenger rigs. Among them was an old acquaintance, a grizzled pilot named Rhea, whose reputation as a smuggler rivaled even Leo's own. Her ship, the Iron Wasp, gleamed despite its age, a testament to her skill. "You clean up nice," Rhea quipped over the comm, her voice laced with sarcasm. "Didn't think I'd see you again after that mess on Terra Prime." Leo smirked, relieved to see a familiar face. "Nice to see you too, Rhea. Thanks for coming." Rhea shrugged, though her tone turned serious. "Don't thank me yet. You've got some explaining to do. What's so important that you're dragging us into another death trap?" Leo hesitated before responding. "It's complicated. But trust me when I say this affects all of us. If we don't stop them, no one will." Before Rhea could reply, another ship joined the group, a massive cruiser bearing the insignia of the Free Alliance, a coalition of rogue factions fighting against galactic oppression. Its captain, a stern-faced human named Dax, hailed Leo directly. "We intercepted your transmission," Dax said, his voice deep and commanding. "You mentioned something big. Care to elaborate?" Leo took a deep breath. "Vera's Farm. Ever heard of it?" The reaction was immediate. Gasps and murmurs erupted across the comm channels, followed by a tense silence. Clearly, the legend of the blade lived on, even among those who preferred to stay out of interstellar politics. Dax's expression hardened. "That blade hasn't been seen in centuries. Are you telling me you found it?" Leo nodded grimly. "Yeah. And whoever controls it has plans for the galaxy. Plans none of us are gonna like." For a moment, no one spoke. Then Dax leaned forward, his eyes narrowing. "All right, kid. You've got our attention. What's the plan?" Over the next hour, Leo laid out everything he knew, from the labyrinth on Krylos to the visions from the spire. He explained the significance of the blade, the shadowy army amassing under the claw emblem, and the potential consequences if they failed. By the time he finished, the assembled crew members were visibly shaken, but also determined. "We'll need resources," Dax said, pacing thoughtfully. "Weapons, intel, reinforcements. We're outnumbered, but not outmatched." Rhea chimed in, her usual cockiness tempered by seriousness. "I've got contacts scattered across half the galaxy. If anyone knows where to find survivors of the old order, or weaknesses in their ranks, I can track them down." Others added their input, each offering skills or knowledge to the cause. For the first time in his life, Leo felt like part of something larger than himself. These people, these strangers, were willing to risk everything because they believed in him. But as the meeting concluded and the fleet dispersed to prepare for battle, Leo couldn't shake the weight of responsibility pressing down on him. Vera's Farm pulsed faintly in its holster, a constant reminder of the power and burden he carried. "What happens now?" Pip asked softly, breaking the silence. Leo stared out at the stars, his jaw set with determination. "Now we fight.